Hello again. And this afternoon, Attorney General and Minister for Justice Dominic Ayine has firmly dismissed claims of plea bargains or backdoor deals involving persons under investigation in the oral initiative. He says the process is on track with no docket compromised and no plea agreements entered into. Briefing the Vice President during her working visit to the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Ayine reaffirmed the department's commitment to fair and efficient justice. We'll hear from the Attorney General shortly, but first listen to the NDC General Secretary Fifi Kwete earlier raising concerns on PM Express about alleged deal cutting involving some influential party figures.
About oral. Okay. You had recently said, quote, many among us, despite the fact that pleas and pressure are coming, that punishment has to be meted out, and this must be done properly. Some among us are busy cutting deals with people who are supposed to be prosecuted. Are people among you still cutting deals?
Actually, what I said is that some among us are trying to cut deals. Trying to cut
deals. Are people still trying to cut deals?
I would think those were strategic interventions to let them know that we're hearing things, we are picking stuff, and therefore be on the lookout. I mean, because if you want to move it to the level of crystallizing it, then we'll be exposed. And the exposure will therefore become with punishment. So if that's what it is some of you are facing, think through about it. Don't let it become a reality. Somebody can approach you and try to cut a deal, but keep it at that level. But don't never want to go beyond that and to make it a crystallization. And that's the point we were making. And I'm happy that the whole system appreciates that. The president clearly has stated that, listen, people may dream about cutting their deals, but as far as he's concerned, that will not be allowed to happen. Naturally, that goes to everybody who is part of the process of ensuring that the right thing gets done, from the Attorney General through to his deputies, through to all the others who are operating, and making sure that we do what is right regarding corruption. So I would just say that it's a statement that needed to be made, and those with ears have heard.
We can now hear from the Attorney General, who has firmly rejected claims of plea bargains or backdoor deals involving individuals under investigation in the oral initiative.
When it comes to oral, there are issues being raised about the fact that, or accusations being raised about the fact that we are cutting deals in the oral cases. Your Excellency, oral is going very, very well. The prosecutions which are being led by my deputy and the Director of Public Prosecutions are going very, very well. However, I want to put it on record, and the National Intelligence Bureau will bear me out. No docket has come here that has been compromised in any way. No deal, no plea arrangement has been entered into with anybody who has committed an offense that comes within the ambit of the oral briefs that we have received from the NIB and are prosecuting. We have 16 dockets under review, and then we will be putting those ones through the process of critical scrutiny, so that when we notice that there are loopholes in the investigations, we'll tell the investigative authorities to bring us more evidence, as we are doing now with the National Service prosecution. So I want to assure the Ghanaian public, using this platform, that we have not entered into any plea negotiations with anybody that committed an offense that comes within the remit of oral.
That's the Attorney General Dominic Ayine. He also disclosed what he described as a tsunami of land compensation cases against the state, warning the claims could cost Ghana billions of cedis. A development, he says, is deeply concerning.
There are also a lot of land matters, especially land compensation. And Your Excellency, those are becoming a big headache for me as the Minister of Justice. In fact, there is, for want of a better word, a tsunami of land compensation cases that are hitting the courts against the Republic, and the figures are mind-blowing. Some as much as 500 million Ghana cedis, claims being made in respect of compensation. The claimants mostly will go and duster documents from the archives and claim that the colonial government did not pay compensation for land, and then they will take the government to court. And for some reason, they keep winning all the way, to the Supreme Court. So it is something that is very worrying, because the last time we sat down and did a calculation, on the back of the envelope, we are looking at billions of Ghana cedis in land compensation claims. So it is something that we want to bring to the attention of government. I have directed the Solicitor General to put together a brief for the President on the land compensation tsunami that we are facing.
Meanwhile, Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman has described the land compensation issues raised by the Attorney General as mind-boggling, stressing the need for urgent steps to be taken to address the situation.
I hear you on the land cases and how all of a sudden we are remembering the colonial times. Maybe these are things that have been in the pipeline for a long time and people are finally frustrated. But we need to find solutions to these because the figures are mind-boggling. So we need to find ways of dealing with them, find different ways of compensation should that be necessary. So we rely on you to advise us on what you think is workable, what is practical, and what is enduring. So that I don't have to go back to Commander and remember what, my forebears should have done and why they didn't do so, and why the Attorney General should today compensate me. And thanks for the information on oral and for plea bargaining. That's very important for all of us to understand. Otherwise, some throw all kinds of things out, and sometimes they confuse us, in really to know exactly what is going on. So we want to urge all of you, your PRs, all of them, to continue to educate all of us.
That's Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman during her working visit to the Attorney General's Department. Let's get on Zoom right now and speak to anti-corruption campaigner Edem Senanu. Thank you very much, Mr. Senanu. So the Attorney General is pushing back against claims of backdoor plea bargainings involving persons and the investigation in the oral initiative. Should this put the speculation to rest? What does this really mean for the credibility of the anti-corruption fight?
Well, I think that the response, on one hand, what we have is perhaps to some extent a demonstration of the internal democracy of the party, that the party hierarchy is not muzzled and they can speak up on issues that are of concern to them. And in particular, I think that it is exciting to note that issues relating to corruption appear to be one of those areas where they are not willing to shield their own ministers as far as it relates to pursuing persons who are deemed to have fallen foul of the law. But with regard to whether it means we should leave it, I don't think so. I think that the fact that we've had this come up repeatedly suggests that all of us need to keep an eye on the space because one would be wondering why such key members of the party continue to raise issues relating to potential negotiations and plea bargains. What is it that they know that the rest of us don't know? So on one hand, it's a good sign, but on the other hand, it also means that we need to pay attention to what is going on.
We heard of this plea bargaining before, but it became a bit rife when the General Secretary of the NDC raised the issue. Of course, he didn't mention the Attorney General's name, but he has come to indirectly respond to that. Do you think the response from the Attorney General is the truth?
Can you go over your question again? It got a bit jumbled.
Yes, so I'm saying that this issue about plea bargaining is coming back again due to an interview the General Secretary of the NDC granted us here on PM Express on Joy News, and then the Attorney General seems to be responding to it indirectly, and there are concerns that he could be responding to this and denying it just because the General Secretary of the party mentioned it in passing.
Well, if I recollect rightly, this appears to be the second time the General Secretary is raising this issue. I seem to recollect that sometime last year it came up. And so I'll be wondering, why would this come up a second time? There must be a reason why the General Secretary continues to raise this issue. So in my mind, perhaps an engagement with the General Secretary to find out why this has repeatedly come up, and it's a major concern. I mean, this is a high-ranking member of the party. So yes, we can take what the minister is saying, but perhaps, the minister is at the top of the hierarchy. There may be certain things simmering, happening lower down he may not be fully aware of. And I think that one should not be too quick to sweep it under the carpet.
Is the plea bargaining a good idea at all? Should it be ever considered?
Well, I mean, plea bargaining, to the extent that the rules for plea bargaining have been set out and are not going to benefit some people much more than others. That's what is important. That's the challenge with plea bargaining, because the likelihood is that some members of society who may be more influential can take advantage of it. And so you need to set out the rules for the plea bargaining right at the scratch. That foundation must be known to everyone, must be agreeable. It must not be the kind of thing where you are not going to make an attempt to retrieve 100% of what has been stolen. Even if you're going to make certain allowances, we want to believe that the entities will ensure that we get back as much as we can under every circumstance. So it's the rules that then begin to raise concerns and red flags for citizens. It's not just in Ghana, across the globe, there are concerns when it comes to plea bargaining, especially where the rules of negotiation are not well set out.
Others have also argued that the oral initiative is dragging its feet yet to prosecute anyone so far. Could some of these behind-the-scenes issues be the reason why it appears that justice is dragging its feet when it comes to the oral initiative?
Not necessarily. I mean, they say the wheels of justice grind slowly, but grind they do. I mean, a few months ago when the special prosecutor was under attack on his performance, I kept asking people, have you checked what is happening at Yoko, at the AGs, under oral and other cases? Because getting a case to court is a lot of work. Those who are in the field understand the level of investigation and the threshold of evidence required to win the case, because you're not just going to court for going to court's sake. You're going to court because you want a case that is clear and the judge can rule and say, yes, the evidence points to the fact that this has been committed, it's a crime, and therefore these are the sanctions. I think that the AGs has many cases already. It may need to find new strategies. I have said that there are other jurisdictions that have specialized courts. They have a lot more personnel within the anti-corruption space, investigating, prosecuting. So these cases are heard daily. And they have deadlines. I cited the example of Kenya, where the deadline is 6 months, and the specialized anti-corruption court sits daily, and the cases are dealt with. So we need to rethink our strategy and the institutional infrastructure we have for dealing with these things, if we're going to get the results that we want, the way Ghanaians appear to want to see progress. I don't think we have the personnel. I don't think the agency has enough personnel to cover all the cases that came up under oral. I don't think we have the institutional framework in terms of the judicial system in place. And so I'm not surprised that we are experiencing these apparent delays.
The oral initiative seemed very promising, especially during the campaign season. But as time goes on, people are starting to lose faith in it. What would be your general assessment of the initiative?
I think that the concept was an excellent one. I looked at the data we had from the corruption space, and the data had suggested that Ghanaians were unwilling to report corruption cases for two reasons. One, they could anticipate a backlash because their identities may not have been kept, unknown. And secondly, they were not sure that they'll get any results. Now, the oral mechanism, by selecting on its panel persons who have been known over the past to get information, use it, without having exposed their sources, in itself was a good indicator that, look, I can go and say whatever I know and not get myself, penalized by those who are being targeted, those who are being identified. On the other hand, the persons also were persons who were known to have gotten results, whether it was Honorable Sami Ablakwa, whether it was Martin Kwebu, whether it was Mr. Domlevo. Yeah, these are persons who are known in the public space to have picked cases and gotten results over the history of this nation. So I think it engendered a lot of confidence, and therefore that's why it got so many people giving in information. Now, it's the follow-up mechanism that I think probably was not well strategized, because there's a lot of cases, and the entity like the AG already had a lot of cases on its table before you added the oral cases. One needs a new strategy, bringing on board other multiple, stakeholders who can also do the investigations and get into prosecution in order to get results in a speedy manner. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think that the capacity, whether in terms of the personnel to do the investigation and prosecution and the current judicial system in terms of a lack of specialized courts to look at anti-corruption matters and deal with them speedily, is in place. And so I'm not too surprised at the apparent delays.
Adam Senano, thank you very much. He's an anti-corruption crusader. We head to Parliament now, where the minority in the House is demanding immediate payment for hundreds of cocoa farmers who received no payment for their produce since November last year. The group has been criticizing Cocoa Board and the government after farmers confirmed that payments for cocoa delivered several months ago remain outstanding despite repeated assurances from the Ghana Cocoa Board. Addressing journalists in Parliament, minority spokesperson on Agric and Cocoa Affairs, Isaac Yaopoku, described the excuses given by Cocoa Board as untenable and demanded immediate payment.
Farmers have tended their farms through harsh weather. They have spent huge resources to control pests and diseases. They have toiled to harvest their farms and sold it to the government in good faith. Yet, months later, they are still waiting for weeks on end to be paid. Is this the resetting which was promised the good people of Ghana, or the reversing of the cocoa industry? Farmers are asking. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, it is not only the poor farmer who is suffering. The failings of government and Cocoa Board are also hurting the cocoa buying companies, that is the LBCs, and transporters, especially the indigenous companies and local enterprises. By delaying in repayment of cocoa taken over from the LBCs, these business and investments are at risk. They have their working capitals locked up, their progress hindered, and financing confidence undermined. Contrary to what the NDC preached pre-election time to promote indigenous business and investments, they have rather reset to kill indigenous companies, businesses, and enterprises in the cocoa industry. We call on government and cocoa board to pay our cocoa farmers immediately for all cocoa beans sold and to be sold to save the cocoa industry from slipping back to days of despondency and loss of interest. We demand an apology from government and cocoa board for this gross dereliction of duty. Cocoa board must reimburse the LBCs of all outstanding repayments of cocoa purchased and delivered, and must also ensure the prompt repayment of subsequent deliveries and CTORs to avoid the recurrence of this despicable situation in the future. We demand that our cherished cocoa farmers are treated better and with dignity than what we are seeing now. Cocoa farmers are not beggars. Paying cocoa farmers promptly is not a favor, it is an obligation.
Isaac Yaopoku also describes the claims by Cocoa Board that the failure to pay is due to the elsewhere government's defaulting on syndicated loans as completely false.
We have heard from the Chief Executive of Cocoa Board trying to assign several reasons why farmers cannot be paid. Among the reasons was that the previous administration defaulted in the payment of the syndicated loan contracted for the 2023-2024 cocoa season, and that the current administration could no longer access the facility. I was surprised that this was coming from the Chief Executive. It is absolutely untrue. It is totally false. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, Ghana started the syndicated loan in 1993, and at the close of the 2023-2024 cocoa season, which was the last syndicated cocoa year, Ghana has never defaulted in the repayment of the loan. So if the Chief Executive has any evidence that Cocoa Board has defaulted, he should provide that evidence. You can go to him, let him provide the evidence. How much was defaulted and how much remains outstanding. The Cocoa Board Chief Executive should provide that. Another reason he assigned is the fall in the international price of cocoa. Yes, the prices have fallen, but this is not the first time price has fallen. When the NPP assumed office in January 2017, world market price had dropped from 3,000 United States dollars per ton in June 2016 to 1,800 United States dollars per ton, barely enough to pay the cocoa farmer. Ladies and gentlemen, when a government is faced with this challenge, the solution is not about rhetoric. It is not about who makes the most noise in public, and it is certainly not about excuses. It is about visionary, level-headed leadership with experience and immersed in critical thinking and not politicizing the issue.
Let's stay a while in Parliament and speak to our resident correspondent, Kweku Asante, who is joining us for more. Kweku, the minority also talked about billions of cedis owed licensed buying companies. What's the figure and your demand in this respect?
Well, welcome to Parliament, sitting host of the Pulse, Ken. So a couple of things have come up regarding that. The minority are talking about so-called 10 billion Ghana cedi that is owed a number of LBCs across the country. They say this is the bulk of the reason why Cocoa Board is unable to pay these farmers, because the LBCs have pre-financed these purchases for quite some time now, and now they are in debt to the tune of 10 billion Ghana cedis. They've taken loans from organizations, banks in particular, and the government through the Cocoa Board is not paying them, and that is why they also have stopped paying. They put a figure at just around 10 billion and are asking Cocoa Board that all they care about is for Cocoa Board to find the money wherever it can find it, pay them so that they can also in turn buy the cocoa beans from farmers and pay them hard cash for farmers to enjoy their families.
Cocoa Board and government must be blamed for failing to reimburse various cocoa buying companies for purchases already delivered to Cocoa Board. The LBCs have borrowed from banks and off-takers to pre-finance the harvest, but as we speak, Cocoa Board owes the LBCs over 10 billion cedis, being defaulted receipts of cocoa already taken over. To continue purchases and further deliveries in the same circumstance will mean the piling of cocoa taken over receipts, what we normally refer to as CTORs, as well as Cocoa Board's mounting indebtedness to the LBCs. In a recent press release by the head of Public Affairs Department of Cocoa Board, the impression was created that enough funds have been released to the license buying companies to purchase cocoa. But this was a complete hoax. The reality is that farmers are not being paid for their cocoa sold to the Mahama-led NDC government since November last year. For farmers who rely on cocoa as the sole source of livelihood, the past 3 months have been very trying moments. At no fault of theirs, cocoa farmers now find themselves in a quagmire, having been deprived of their hard-earned income from the sale of cocoa for more than 3 months. Some suffering farmers have been forced to sell their stocks at heavy discounts, plunging them into severe hardships. The non-payment of farmers for cocoa sold is not just incredibly outrageous, but it is a complete rip-off by the Mahama-led NDC government of their incomes and livelihoods, to the extent that some farmers are struggling to feed and provide for their families, and many cannot reinvest in their farms to sustain the cocoa economy. This was the least treatment our cherished cocoa farmers ever expected from His Excellency the President and his NDC government.
Let's go onto the telephone lines right now and speak to Nana Obuade. He's the president of Concerned Farmers Association. Nana, have you heard anything from Cocoa Board or from government the past few days?
Thank you very much. And then good evening, your viewers. And then we thank the minority for their bold decision, being good citizens for coming out boldly in support of we, the cocoa farmers, whilst we are waiting for our money being paid. The latest development that is coming now, reaching our state very soon, something good coming up out Cocoa Board. So that is the latest development that they are having. And then very soon there's going to be hearing between farmers, Cocoa Board. So this is what it happens. So later Monday, I think something good will be coming up, and then what to tell our states. And then if it is money, then we'll be for all of us.
Nana, you've been saying very soon, there's no definite date. Is there a definite time that this is going to happen?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the latest development. By tomorrow is Friday.
Right.
So latest by Monday, then there's something good news for us.
And some of the cocoa farmers have threatened to smuggle their cocoa to other West African countries and even sell their cocoa farms to illegal miners. Is this a position they still maintain?
Others are threatening to do so, but then as we all know that it is illegal, it is criminal for you to smuggle your cocoa outside. And there's no farmer that will be smuggling outside. It is a business of this political farmers that be buying it backside or backside, just send it out there. But a farmer smuggling out, I don't know like that. But then talking about Michelle
Nana, I would want you to kindly reposition yourself. I'm struggling to hear you. Hello, Nana Obuade, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, but I am struggling to hear you. So if you can kindly reposition yourself and come again, please.
Yeah, well, is it okay?
Much better.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is it is hardly for a farmer to smuggle out cocoa from this country. We have a cartel that the people farm today buy the cocoa back to smuggle it out. So now, if not be changed, then it's going to be income to pop up to our country for them to have a high, money. Because then, when you look at somewhere higher than some of the period around. So that is the problem that is key. So telling people to be very careful for the people that will find this kind of or do a check and they look up having a back to mix up out so that they have a.
Now, I'm still struggling to hear you, but I got bits of it. But let me ask my next question. It is how the cocoa farmers are coping. How are they surviving 3 months without money?
It is very tough. I mean, very, very tough. In some of us, what we are doing is those that they went for looks and other, it was just that they communicate that girls in some of them with some money. It is not that's a few of us.
Unfortunately, the lines are very, very, very bad. I'm really struggling to hear Nana Obwadie Bonsu II, who is the president of the Concerned Farmers Association there. Let's try him one more time. Do we still have him on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think then I was having a feedback from your end, so this one is okay.
Okay. So I was asking how the cocoa farmers are surviving 3 months without money.
It is not all that easy. It is not easy at all. Just that with this rehabilitation, those that did the rehabilitation are now even enjoying a little bit because of the plantain that we do planted, or Cocoa Board gave us to plant within our various farms that we are selling it a little bit just to survive. But even that one cannot sustain, because I remember Kwame Oduro just came to us that he needed money for his children to go to school. They are at Lagos, and now they are home because they can't afford buying some of the pay some kind of fees and then other things for them. And then there are a lot of challenges that is coming. Others also, their wives have delivered that they have to be buying kind of feed and other things for them that is challenges. Those that they are into business are now facing police and then court cases, all because the time that we're supposed to pay the money is due, and then they are unable to get the money for those that they have a business with. So it has become a very challenging, but we're also trying our best. I mean, putting pressure on Cocoa Board just to make sure that the money will be coming, and then all of us will be okay. And as I'm talking to you right now, there's a latest development, which I think by Monday, smile will be on the faces of the farm.
And if it doesn't happen, what happens?
Come again?
If that doesn't happen, that expectation you're expecting on Monday, if it doesn't happen, what happens next?
Oh, well, we all know that some of the farmers are threatened just to go on demonstration and other things that I think it is very so. Others are on standby, which they want to hit under the street, and there is. But then also we have trust and their respect for Cocoa Board, because Cocoa Board do respect as the finance sector, do respect with the cocoa farmers. I think they will do due diligence and then try to do what they are supposed to do, so that our relationship will be a little bit tight.
Right. Nana Obwadie Bonsu II, thank you for your time this afternoon. He's the president of the Concerned Farmers Association of Ghana. Let's take you back to Parliament, where the minority in the House are questioning the latest inflation figures announced by the Ghana Statistical Service. Government statistician Alhassan Idrisu announced on Tuesday that the inflation rate for January had fallen to 3.8%.
The data tell a very clear story. Inflation has fallen sharply and consistently over the year. Price pressures are easing across most components of the CPI. While challenges remain, particularly in some regions and food categories, the overall trend is positive. This creates space for planning, confidence, and recovery. In summary, in terms of numbers, we are talking about January 2026 recording an inflation rate of 3.8%. Food inflation at 3.9%. Non-food inflation at 3.9% as well. Goods inflation at 3.6%. Services inflation at 4%. Inflation for locally produced items at 4.5%, and then we have regional differences, which shows that Northeast recorded the highest inflation at 11.2%, and Savannah recorded the lowest at negative 2.6%.
And speaking to journalists in Parliament, minority spokesperson on the economy, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, said they are getting information that the figure does not reflect the realities in the market.
I'm hearing that figure. I'm also getting a lot of messages from people who are saying that what they see on the market doesn't exactly correspond with that. I'm sure when the government statistician appears before us, we'll have an opportunity to interrogate the data that they have and match it to what is really happening in the market. Many of your viewers and listeners, they buy from the markets, and they will be the best judges to tell us whether what they're experiencing on the market is 3.8% or not. We have told you earlier that what the government is doing to achieve these inflationary targets is not actually tackling the supply side. It's actually sterilizing a lot of money from the system. You recall that around October, we told you that the government has sterilized about 60 billion Ghana cedis from the system. In other words, that money is being sucked out of the economy, so people who want to use it to, conduct transactions can't even access it. So it's one thing they're doing it on the demand side and telling you, therefore, that inflation is down to 3.8. But when you go to the market, you see the real rate.
But traders at the Malamatam market here in Accra say a drop in inflation does not necessarily mean a drop in prices of goods and services.
Peno you 20 cedis airco 20, 25, 30, 40. There's a unketeska untimin tope. Uka almost see a season, a bomb see a beba, and so a mother. Obi aba or see any yenso penny boarding. In Tama is here, the Omunketeska, Omuntimin tope, you say scaffold on quantity, and so parents with you. In Kenya, dear baby, I say any boat to be a costro sama, will be also to be about from no beer to me Toby. No beer to me Toby no D. Because he has a healthy food, but you see a pair unketeska untimento. Season no more saying car, ye do Christmas we are a beba. A year last month, year a December no. And so January should not sign, but still life quite the higher ways cry. Until ye name the NTR, ISR.
Akosha is saying that the prices of pear is so high because she was told that at least by the time where the festive seasons were over, the price of pear would have reduced. But here we are in February, and still the prices of pear is so high. She said she doesn't sell any of these pears that you see here below 20 cedis. The lowest price is 20 cedis.
Madam ginger ne de nya better. Say un bedroom to ginger 10 cedi. Ube ye nkwan kitue bi wo fie do e shefi no ginger 50 cedis. Adango kura ye sen. Say adango 2 cedi first me and 5 baby mu use. Say adango 5 cedi.
Auntie Amanda is concerned about the price of ginger. She says that the ginger, the sizes are so small and yet it's so expensive. And to prepare a little meal, you'll have to buy at least 50 cedis ginger because no one sells below even 10 cedis of ginger here. In 2% we thought ginger 10 cedis are. She's going to show me how much I'll get. Should I purchase 10 cedis ginger? She's actually counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 10 cedis worth of ginger that she's giving to me. Prior to first, I bear 5 cedis.
Look at that 2 cedi credit to me the mouth. But there, never one and shut down your dance. And shut down your dance and never cost. But there we are saying season. A water my baby. Our time echo until no dear board there, never wanted it. Yeah. Then a man had me be a lolly fair. A man complains a lolly fair, and until a man bore a cosoro.
Auntie here is saying that the prices of plantain is not that high, but her concern is the transport, how the plantain is brought from the hinterland to the city. It makes it very expensive, and so she's hoping that at least when that aspect is resolved, the plantain, the cost of it, will not keep going up higher.
With other ones, it's good, but with frito, the only problem is with frito. They go up sometimes and they come down sometimes. But with sunflower and other brands, it's okay. The price is normal.
no me first no here le 10 cedi bi ane koloba le 15 le kotoku shinje kotoku bibi agbe enene ko eba bi ane kotoku wonyo wo le 45 ina kache ene anwula wo le 45 eko nwe o ba wo le 5 ntrake sika 50.
Sister Nyakwa say okra comes in seasons, like what others have been telling us. So this is not the season for the okra, but the prices are relatively better than a year ago. She's saying that she's hopeful when it's season, when we get into the season of okra, we'll be able to purchase it at a very relative good price.
Away from the market, the debate over government's decision to rename the Kotoka International Airport is this afternoon escalating between supporters of the move and parties who are vehemently opposing it. For supporters, taking General Kotoka's name from the country's largest aviation hub is a long-awaited opportunity for Ghana to correct what they say is a dark spot in our history, as many have abhorred him for his role in the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. We'll listen to the arguments shortly, but first listen to the Transport Minister, Joseph Bukari-Nikpe, give the government's official reason for the change in name.
This is one of the issues the Ministry of Transport, and for that matter, government presented to Parliament, our activities for this period of the recall. Parliament will be expected to pass a lot of bills, and as government agenda, we have a lot of bills from the Ministry of Transport, and one of them is the renaming of the Kotoka International Airport to its original name. We will remember that in the period of the Second World War, around 1946, the British Royal Air Force used that place as an Air Force base to carry people to war and other activities. After that period, somewhere in 56, that facility was handed over to the civilian rule. That was the time Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was at the helm of affairs. He retooled, he revamped, and redeveloped the Air Force base into a civilian passenger airport. And as at that time, the name was Accra International Airport. And that name is of significance to us. We all here have accepted that Accra is our capital city, marketed, rich culture, and also locational identity. That everybody in this world, especially in the West Africa sub-region, knows that where this struggle for independence had a lot to do from Accra. And so renaming the airport to Accra International Airport is of significant importance to the Ghanaian people and, for that matter, the African personality. Now, the situation is such that we are not doing this with any political thinking. We are doing this to come from a very neutral point of view that Accra is our capital city. It is not anybody's name. If we want to name other monuments or any other national facilities to people, this is the time that we are looking at restructuring them. For the fact that we had a name and it was changed to honor somebody in his role in the 1966 coup, we feel that that history is not what the Ghanaian will want to hear. The fact that it had an original name, and that name was when the first president gave that name to the airport, we should do that, and Kwame Nkrumah himself in his grave will remember, even if the spirit is anywhere and it is coming home, it will get to his original Accra International Airport, no any other name.
That's the Transport Minister, Joseph Bukari-Nikpe, explaining government's official position on the name change of the Kotoka International Airport. But speaking on PM Express last night, historian at the Department of History and Accountability of the University of Cape Coast, Professor Osei Kwarteng, says General Kotoka's coup has helped check excesses of the Nkrumah government, including human rights abuses.
In 1966 coup, to me is very, very significant because it was an important milestone in the history of this country.
How so?
Yeah, it was important because it affected Ghanaians. How did it affect Ghanaians? There were a lot of Ghanaians who had been thrown into prison by the Preventive Detention Act that he alluded to, which was passed by Parliament. Nkrumah and his peers thought that the colonial rule was foreign, and apart from that, it was harsh. So they were overthrowing the colonial rule so that they will have freedom on their own land. But they moved away from the oppressive rule of the colonial power into oppressive rule of a Ghanaian. And was that justice? Was that correct? So when there is an injustice and when there is an unpopular government and there's no mechanism to remove an unpopular government, especially so when that unpopular government had become a one-party state, then a military coup to overthrow him, to grant the people their liberty, is what? Justified.
Meanwhile, National Communications Director for the Convention People's Party, CPP, Osei Kofi Akwa, however, mounted a strong defense against this assertion.
Also, there was a bomb that was thrown at Kumasi Sports Stadium. Nkrumah himself, how many assassination attempts was made on his life? Now, when they say because of this, it makes Nkrumah a dictator, it's funny. After the September 11 attack on the United States, the U.S. took a lot of measures, including arresting suspects who are deemed a threat to the United States. Some of them were even picked from their homeland as far back in the Middle East and were placed in prison camps at Guantanamo Bay. What I'm saying is that, let's be honest with ourselves. If anybody says that we are in a democracy, so they are going to draw a gun in the middle of a congregated police officers, or let's say even the president, and say that, look, I have a gun, I want to shoot the president. We all sit idle. Why are we treating Nkrumah as if he was nobody? He was the head of state. And look at the terms that were made on his life.
But at the heart of the renaming and rebranding is a potential cost to the country. And our research team has been digging the figures on how much similar initiatives cost other countries. Right, and there you have it. Let's start from the United States. And San Jose International Airport was renamed to Norman Mineta San Jose International Airport. It cost the country $850,000 in 2001. In the same USA, the Baltimore or Washington International Airport was renamed to Baltimore or Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport, and it cost the state $4.7 million in 2005. Let's stay a while in the USA, this time in Las Vegas, and the McCarran International Airport was renamed to Harry Reid International Airport in 2021, costing the country $7 million. Let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to former Executive Director of the Advertising Association of Ghana, Francis Dazi, for some perspective on this. Francis, we've been looking at the cost of the renaming of some international airports, especially in the United States. How much do you think this possible renaming is going to cost the country?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to viewers and listeners. I mean, conservatively, we are looking about compared to other airports that have done some rebranding, we're looking at between $2 to $5 million to be able to effectively do this. But we also have to bear in mind that it might not be a full-scale rebranding, but a name change. And therefore, we can do it in phases and then ensure that at least the cost is manageable. Because the whole quantum of rebranding goes further than just a name change. So we should look at that. And before you do any rebranding, you should have done some level of research processes to ensure that
why do we want to rebrand? But here is the case that I think that is a political decision that is being made, and I'm sure a lot of stakeholder engagement has not even been done. And so looking at the issues coming up, it means that whilst Parliament passing the bill is the beginning, but there are other stages that has to go on, and it could take place between 6 to 1 year or even before the whole process is done.
You mentioned earlier that it's likely not to be a wholesale rebranding at a go, but if you look at the rebranding, if it's going to take step by step, how long is it going to take?
No, I think we should look at about 1 year to be able to, because there are systems and processes, and even because an aviation industry, there are other regulatory authorities like the ACRA and ITA records, airline systems, ticketing platform, and all that has to be changed. And global maps and charts that are already embedded with AIA, which have to be changed to AIA. So it will take some process of time. It will not just be just a walk in the park just immediately. That's my thoughts.
Don't go yet. Let me bring in aviation expert, Dr. Yakubu Akparibu, and the former executive director of Advertising Association of Ghana, Francis Dazi, who we've been hearing from. Doc, welcome to the program. I want to find out from you, looking at this from the aviation perspective, how long is it going to take if we are to start this rebranding? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Good afternoon to you and your viewers. So in terms of operations, so we have two coding systems. You know, we have the IATA code, which is currently ACC for Accra, and then the ICAO code, which is DGAA. So if the airport is renamed, I don't think these codes will change, especially with the ICAO code. With the ICAO code, that is designated by ICAO, and every region is four-letter code, and the first letter normally designates the region, and then the second one is the country, and then the last two is a local area. So D is for our region, and then G for Ghana, and AA is for Accra. So that Ghana doesn't have control over that. So I don't think that will change. What Ghana probably will do is to notify ICAO that the name is Somo Kotoka International Airport, but then the Accra International Airport. Now, the other code, and with this ICAO code, that is normally used for operations. So communications between pilots and air traffic controllers is normally these codes that we use. So the general public normally don't use this, and most people don't even know this code. Now, the second code is the IATA code, which is normally the commercial one. That Ghana can suggest to IATA for it to be changed. Now, if the airport is changed to Accra International Airport, and Ghana still want to maintain the current code, which is ACC, which stands for Accra, then there wouldn't be any issues. And even if we want to change it, it will be subject to availability of the code that we want to use, because you don't want it to conflict with other airport codes. So if the name is changed, we only need to notify ICAO and IATA. But like I said, these codes may not necessarily change.
Let me bring in Mr. Dazi at this point. Do you think it's even a good idea to effect these changes in the first place?
See, I don't think anything wrong with it. I mean, because as we go along as human institutions, sometimes we want to realign ourselves for certain aesthetic cultural purposes. So if because of our cultural idiosyncrasies, its timing is that we want to change the name to suit Accra as it's been said in some cycles that they have given us a place and all that. So I don't think it is, but like that doctor is saying, I mean, in the system, because there's not, so it means that there's no much cost to some of these things because the systems have already been structured in such a way that we have some codes that for the aviation industry, that the name change of an airport alone does not warrant the change of some of those codes, except we want to add that to it. So I think, be it as it may, it's just a name change, and we can move on without even passengers recognizing that anything has changed.
Dr. Yakubu, there are those who also argue that this will improve the brand image of the country called Ghana if it is effectively changed to, for example, Accra International Airport. Is there any truth in that?
No, I don't agree. It's not necessarily that. Changing, like Mr. Dazi said, changing the name to Accra International Airport, passengers may not even notice much of it. It's only, let me say, the branding that's going to be done at the airport, like the one we've seen in Tamale. You know, Tamale used to be, was changed to Yakubu Tali International Airport, and this government has changed it back to Tamale. So when you arrive at Tamale, it's just the branding or the writings on it that has changed. And then also, when we also look at like stationery that is used by, let's say, ATC and most of the people working there, that probably will be like the main cost. But as to whether it's going to improve the image of the country by just changing the name of the airport, I don't agree. I think what normally will make a change is if you make improvement to operational efficiency. If you make things easier at the airport for passengers, that is what normally will make a change. And that's what passengers will normally see, but not just the name change.
Yeah. There's been divided opinions. I'm asking both of you this final question. There's been divided opinion since this issue of name change came up. Some say it should go ahead, others say it shouldn't. Do you think government should halt this process? Let me start with you, Dr. Yakubu.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so from my side, I don't think changing the name really makes any difference. I think people are making arguments that is because Kotuka overthrew Nkrumah and is like a dent on our image and stuff, but I don't think it's really necessary. I think what we need to do is rather concentrate on making the airport a regional hub, like improving operational efficiency rather than wasting time on name changes.
Mr. Dazi, same for you?
I also think likewise, like you said, I mean, the domestic airport is now, I mean, it's highly being used. We should rather concentrate on revamping and then making sure that all our airports are functioning. We're supposed to get flights directly to Kumasi and things like that. Those are the things we should be working towards. As for the name change, it's neither here nor there. Because like I said, nobody might even notice it. Efficiency of service, technology improving, people getting to the airport and just scanning their passport and moving out, limited human experience. Those are the things we are looking for. And that is what will bring joy to people, no, rather than just the name change. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yakubu Akparibu is an aviation expert, and Francis Dazi is also the former executive director of the Advertising Association of Ghana. And welcome to Rehoboth Havens. Ayi Mensah, making home ownership simple and achievable for Ghanaians at home and in the diaspora from as low as 675,000 Ghana cedis. Rehoboth Havens is a secure gated community featuring beautifully landscaped surroundings, a recreational center, and the comfort, safety, and peace of mind every family deserves. You only have to pay 30% to move in and spread the balance over 5 years. We offer 2, 3, and 4 bedroom homes thoughtfully designed for a fully comfort, security, and long-term value, giving you the perfect environment to live, relax, and thrive. Don't wait. Secure your future today. Call or WhatsApp now on 0244 764499 or 055-3751-933 or 020-6823524, or you can visit our website, rehobothsocial.com, and our social media platforms as well. Rehoboth Social Housing. Your housing dreams become reality. The pulse returns after this break. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back. The government has begun a major push to remove untrained teachers from classrooms across the country, rolling out a new postgraduate diploma in education initiative aimed at professionalizing teaching nationwide. The program, being driven by the National Teaching Council, is expected to affect thousands of teachers in both public and private schools. On the Pulse today, we're examining what this initiative means in practice, who qualifies, the cost implications, timelines for compliance, and what really happens to teachers who choose not to participate. We're joined in the studio by the Director of Licensing and Registration at NTC, Francis Adair, also Director Center for Teacher Professional Development at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Bernard Yao Sechiakwa, and the head of the department at the Educational Foundation of the University of Education, Winneba. Grateful for your time, gentlemen. Let me start with you. What is this new postgraduate initiative all about?
Yeah, thanks so much. The National Teaching Council conducted a research, that is, we call it compliance checks in all schools in Ghana.
Right.
And we realized that in senior high schools only, we have about 12,279 teachers who are non-qualified, but they are engaged in teaching. So we collaborated with some universities, 5 universities, that is UCC, Amstead, UDS, and Kali University, to run postgraduate diploma in education for these unqualified teachers to become professionals. So the government is supporting them to become professionals, to enable them to remain in the teaching profession.
I want to find out from you, how prepared is the education system to absorb all these persons if they eventually complete this initiative?
Right, thank you very much. Representing University of Education, Winneba.
Right.
The postgraduate diploma, which is part of the teacher preparation programs in the universities. We are ready because we have been running this program for that long time. If I should say, since the inception of the University of Education, Winneba. And so we have put all the measures in place to ensure that all the qualified applicants are hooked onto the program. And then we have outlined all the needed steps for them to get enrolled, which we are going to highlight them as the program continues. So we are ready for the program.
And I'm coming to you. What are the cost implications of this?
Yes. Originally for our postgraduate diploma in education program, it is around 9,000. But for this special initiative, through a negotiation with the NTC, we brought it down to 5,000 to accommodate as many teachers as possible.
And which institutions are going to be the awarding schools or institutions?
Yeah, we have University of Cape Coast, we have Amstead, that is Kentina Piamenka,
right.
University of Skill Training and Development, and UDS, and UW, and Kali University. They are going to run the program, and in fact, it's a fast-track one. Within 20 weeks, the program must be completed.
Right.
So these universities will run the program to upgrade the teachers to professional status.
So what happens then? I don't know if you can answer that question, but what happens to teachers who fail to enroll in this, who fall into that category? If they fail to enroll into this, what happens to them? Do they lose their jobs?
Yes, as the director indicated, they have the mandate to ensure that all the non-professional teachers who are in the classroom are upgraded to that professional status. And this is the opportune time for everybody who qualifies to they enrolled onto this program to take that opportunity. In case they decline this all-important benefit and opportunity, I believe the NTC has nothing done. Just go by the mandate, which says that if you are not certificated, so far as the professional qualities, professional status are concerned, and so they are going to measure you per what they have on record. You don't qualify, and so you don't teach.
And how will success be measured beyond this certification? How will this improve upon the quality in teaching and learning in schools?
Yeah, these non-professional teachers, we call them, they've done the content, but they lack the pedagogical knowledge, content knowledge to practice as a teacher. They have the knowledge in mathematics or science or any other, but how to teach it in the classroom, they don't have it. So this program is going to improve on them how to teach, how to manage the classroom, how to assess learners, so that it will improve learning outcomes, basically. So they are the lecturers, they are the universities, so they have been doing it. They don't know how it's going to impact the learning outcomes in the country.
Is that what, in our local parlance, we call them pupil teacher?
Initially,
yes. we used to call them pupil teacher. So before, I'm coming to you, before you are able to enroll in this postgraduate initiative, that means you need to have had some certificate already, or you can just apply?
Yes, you must have a first degree.
Okay.
Yes, so if you have a first degree in any of the teaching subjects at a pre-tertiary level, you qualify to apply for this program.
Let me add that, yes, first degree, but you get to know that some of the first degrees are not coming from accredited institutions.
Right.
So you have to ensure that your first degree is coming from a tertiary institution that is accredited. Other than that, you don't qualify. Let me also emphasize that higher national diploma or diploma graduates don't qualify because higher national diploma or diploma are not first degree. And so the minimum requirement is that you should have a first degree.
By higher national diploma, you mean the HND?
The HND.
What we call, okay. Right, we've hinted, or we've had hints of possible government support. Are there some scholarship slots available? Who would want to answer that?
Yes. We've been running this program in collaboration with the support of TTEL, and this time around we are reliably informed that they will be there to offer support, especially for female applicants between the age of 30 or below the age of 35. Yes, they are going to consider them with some financial support.
Is that fair at all? I mean, why only females? What about the men? What happens to the men? Why only females?
Yeah, yesterday I was at TTEL.
Yeah.
And the explanation was that it is being sponsored by a MasterCard.
Okay.
And the MasterCard, the target is a youth, which is 35 years and below. And they also want to encourage women to be in education. That is why they want to support the women who are between the age of 35 and below. So we will treat all teachers who are non-professionals to get enrolled into this program, because from our law, the Act says that a person shall not practice as a teacher unless the person is registered as a teacher in accordance with this Act. I'm quoting from the Education Regulatory Bodies Act 2020. Right. So if you're not registered as a teacher, in fact, we started issuing this license far back 2021, about 5 years now. The first license has expired, which was valid for 3 years. We began another set. But still, some teachers are there. They still want to remain as non-professionals, which cannot be allowed. So we want to support them to become professionals. That's why we engage the universities as a reduced, subsidized cost for them. So we want them to get enrolled and then get this certificate to become professionals, to enable them stay in the Ghana Education Service.
Right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's the Director of Licensing at Registration and Licensing at the NTC, Francis Adair. We also heard for the Director for Professional Development at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Bernard Yao-Sechiakwa, and also the head of the Department at Educational Foundation at the University of Education, Winneba, Professor Paul Kwabena Ephraim. In other stories this afternoon, the government's flagship National Apprenticeship Program has distributed startup equipment to 230 apprentices and 46 master craftspeople in the Ahafo region under phase 1 of the initiative to boost youth employability and skills training. The program is expected to play a key role in tackling youth unemployment and strengthening technical and vocational development nationwide. Our correspondent Emmanuel Edujemfi reports.
At a ceremony held in Gosu on Monday, the Afro Regional Minister, Charity Gardner, officially handed over the skill training equipment to the Regional Coordinator of the National Apprenticeship Program, Suleiman Ababa Amadou, for onward distribution to beneficiary districts and municipalities. The items include 165 hand-sewing machines, 35 knitting machines, 35 industrial sewing machines, 10 hair dryers and other essential accessories to support vocational training.
What we are seeing today is in fulfillment of His Excellency John Dramani Mahame's promise that he made prior to the 2024 elections. I think before the elections, we promised the people of Ghana that those who are willing to go into apprenticeship will give them support. And that is exactly what we have done today. So as Regional Minister, on behalf of Ahafo region and the entire districts in the region, I want to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for fulfilling his promise.
Speaking on behalf of the municipal and district chief executives, Payo Sopoku, the municipal chief executive for Tano North, urged beneficiaries to make prudent and productive use of the opportunity to improve their livelihood.
I urged the master craftsmen who are the beneficiaries right now to take this initiative very seriously, and also advise the apprentice that this thing is by way of helping them so that those who did not go to the free high school will also benefit from this initiative by the President.
The Ahafo Regional Coordinator of the National Apprenticeship Program, Suleiman Ababa Amadou, noted that the initiative is inclusive, targeting persons between the ages of 15 and 40, including vulnerable groups across the region.
The targeted group are people who are in the senior high school, at the same time people who are unable to go to the senior high schools and want to learn a skill. People living with disability, including prisoners and people from diaspora who have come back to the country and they want a skill to learn, are people that the government is targeting. Both the TV schools and the non-formal mastercraft persons.
Meanwhile, the Ahafo Regional Director of the National Youth Authority, Nicholas Soa, disclosed that the region has also received a vehicle to strengthen effective monitoring and supervision of the program.
As I'm talking with you right now, apprenticeship coordinator, his vehicle is in. By next month, to the district directors, their motorbikes will be in for monitoring.
The master craftsman, Eric Siedu, expressed gratitude to President John Mahama for fulfilling his campaign promise to empower artisans and apprentices.
Yani John Mahama shao braha funkasim. Washe bose ye masa fone echira adieno. Yemuano na nyame adumna ne saka tumi no a obema ye nkura ma ya kire mo adwuma. Bijira ha me ne wo kasai. Akade a woka ase wode bema ye no. Wode ni nyina ma ye na ye begidi akọ ye adwuma mu ye di akọ kire nkura na adwuma no.
Emmanuel Edujemfe reports from Goso for Joy News.
And the rains are back, and so is the race to stop leaks before they get worse. That drip hit the ceiling, the moisture stains on the wall, the window that lets water sneak in every storm. They never fix themselves. Maybe you've already tried different products, coatings that claimed to protect your building but ended up peeling, cracking, or giving up as soon as the downpour gets serious. Now imagine a season without the stress of buckets on the floor or freshwater stains spreading across the walls? That's where Easy Paint waterproof solution comes in. Smart, reliable way to block moisture, seal leaks, and give your home or office long-lasting protection. While more Ghanaians are turning to Easy Paint to keep their buildings dry, secure, and good-looking, no matter how heavy the rains fall. To explain how this innovative system works, I'm joined in the studio once again by Stephanie Zenobia Opoku Dakwa. Thank you very much for coming by again, Stephanie. The last time you came, I told you to do some demonstration for me. Yes. You told me you'd do that another time, and true to your words, you are here with some demonstration tools. What are you showing us today?
Okay, so good afternoon to your cherished viewers. And before you see this basket?
Yes.
When you buy the basket fresh in town, it had holes in them. That is why they said you can't use the basket for water.
Yeah.
But this basket has been painted with Easy waterproof paint. So let's take the example of that basket that hasn't been painted with the Easy waterproof paint. That is how, you see how when you put water in it, it can't even last. That is how your walls or your roofs or your floors, if they are not protected, that is a problem that comes in. But once it is painted with Easy waterproof paint, now I'll do the demonstration. Yeah. I'll leave it for you to do it because I'm sure you tell me I've just done it with some super glue.
No, we can actually do it together.
Okay, so let's explain it. Yeah. You see this white side of it here? Yeah. That is the first coat of the waterproof paint.
Okay.
And in here you have a shiny finishing in there. I told you that once you're done with the waterproof, you can use any of the acrylics to do your top up. Right. So the acrylic that is shining in is a semi-gloss. Yeah. Now we do our demonstration.
Yeah, so
I want you to be very sure it's the paint.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm expecting it.
Very good. And I just washed it and then I came.
It's entirely paint, viewers. Entirely paint. Okay, let's start.
All right, so you go first.
Okay. And this is also water.
It's water.
Should I pour all?
All of it.
I mean, ordinarily, you know that a raw basket without Easy Paint will pour immediately, you start pouring them in, but this one is staying inside.
Exactly. Okay. And now try peeling a little from the side. Let's see something.
It's unpeelable.
Good. So today, you are going to attest to the paint for me. So this is it. This is how it protects your walls, your roofs, and your floors. So you remember the last time I was here, I was telling you that if you land situated at a waterlogged area, and before you even bring up your building, you're done with your foundation. So let's assume we've done our foundation, and the Easy waterproof paint is going on the foundation, just like this basket here. It is stopping every water from coming in. So that is what it does to your building. Now, let's say that the first basket that wasn't painted was your walls that you didn't hear of or you hadn't heard of Easy Paint yet. Now, the walls have been painted with the Easy waterproof paint. Now, this is how it works. All the water that would have, just gone through the walls and then messed the building is stopped because the Easy waterproof paint is sealing it. It's protecting that wall.
Right.
Yes. This is how it works.
Quite interesting. But my interest also is in longevity. How long can this survive?
This basket has been painted for a very long time, more than 8 years. All I do is whenever I'm coming for interviews, I told you that once you use your acrylic to do the top up, once it's dirty, you just wash it. So when I'm coming for interviews, because of the dust and everything, I just wash it with my soapy water, and then I'm good to go. And that is how it works too. So if it's in your room, if it's on your roofs, you don't even need to send people every time. But once it's raining, I tell people that once you have some nice young men in your neighborhood and it starts raining, just be nice with them, let them go on top. with some hard brushes so that the very difficult and tougher stains like you're seeing on your screen, they can help you. After a script, they can help you do the, iron brushing very well. Once it's dried, we apply the easy waterproof paint, and it's good to go.
And on what surfaces can easy waterproof paints be applied on?
So it works on all surfaces. All surfaces, roofs, walls, floors, swimming pools, water tanks, anywhere that you have cement. Even on these roofs, both old and new roofs. The very old aluminium roofing, the very, very old ones, you get to some of the buildings and they just want to take everything off because they think it's so rusted. But trust you me, we go and then we do the cleaning and it's applied, and you get there and you don't even know this is an old roof till you're told this is a very old roof that we just applied the easy waterproof paint on. This new roofing system, it works on it. The slate one, the slate roof, it works on that as well. The floors, usually when we do the floors, because we don't always get up on the building to have a look at it, when the sun starts, shining very, very severely, we get cracks in there. And then these cracks penetrate into the rooms and it starts giving you maps, like, marks like the map in your room. It starts very little. And because you don't observe so much, you end up and then it's looking this nasty. It means it is spoiled too. I have to bring this picture. We went to one of the homes with a very beautiful POP, but it was so bad. It was virtually coming off from the room. And that is very dangerous if you have children in the house, because the water is so soaked in there. And so we encourage that once you do your buildings, let's start from the roof. Treat the roof, treat the floors, treat your foundations. If you think the problem is from the land, treat it first, treat your walls, and then get your home as peaceful and as quiet and as calm as you want. Because I'm not sure you want to waste money and build a house and you can't enjoy the house.
Right. What about windows? How do we use easy paints to secure our windows?
So you remember the last time I was telling you that because when we do the walls, then we do the spaces for the windows. Yes. So usually when they do the windows, we have all these sides that are opened. So that is where we go do a cleaning. I told you before we apply, we make sure that we don't have any dust there. Because trust me, once we get a little bit particle of dust in there, it's not going to work. So after the cleaning is done, we use the easy waterproof to seal it, and then we're good to go.
Speaking of dust, though, I mean, we live in a very dusty country, no doubt about that. If you use easy paint, is it washable? Can you wash it with water?
Very. And
it will not peel off?
It won't peel off. You see, I was telling you that try and peel this. Yes. I keep washing it every time. And there's a bigger one in the office that has fish in it. So all we do is once their feed makes the basket dirty, we take them out, wash, put water back, put them in. And that is how it doesn't peel off. It is so strong. That is the protection it gives to your building.
Give our viewers where we can find you.
Okay. So our main office is at Abeka Junction. We're just adjacent to the Allied filling station or closer to the Shell filling station on the Abeka Highway. You can give us a call on 0243 707696. 0243 707696. At Tudo, you can find us opposite the Lebanon House. In Kumasi, we are at Edum. We're just beside the Melcom, where you ask for Opbros. And then in Cape Coast, you look for King of the Universe and Eminent Enterprise. Aside that, wherever they sell hardware or they sell any building materials, just ask them for easy waterproof paint. Tell them you want easy waterproof paint, and then you will get them. If you don't, just give us a call, and then we'll deliver it to wherever you are in the country and even beyond.
Stephanie, I want to check it one last time.
Please do. Please do.
Well, it is. I was thinking it might have leaked through the table, but...
Or maybe you would want to lift it up a little bit and then be very sure.
Yeah. You can have a look at it. If the camera can capture it for us. The water is still intact. Wow, that's amazing. Incredible. Thank you very much for passing by once again.
You're welcome.
Right, and that's Stephanie from Easy Waterproof Paint. Now, let's bring you other stories this evening, because across Europe, momentum is growing to resist children access to social media, with several governments now actively debating or moving toward bans for under-16s. Following Australia's decision, several countries are stepping up discussions or advancing legislation that will significantly limit how young people use platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. For more on this, let's talk to Thomas Sparrow. He's a correspondent for our partners DW in Berlin. Thomas, welcome to the program. Which European countries are currently taking the strongest steps towards banning social media for under-16s?
Spain and Greece are among the latest European countries to propose bans for under-16 social media use. In fact, the head of the Spanish government, Pedro Sánchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, stressed that it was time to regain control of the digital space, saying also that it was a digital Wild West. And the Spanish government is also planning to go even a step further by making it possible to hold social media executives personally, legally accountable for illegal content that is spread on their platforms. A proposal that was strongly rebuked by the head of X, by the owner of X, Elon Musk, on his platform. That is one of the proposals that is being discussed here in Europe, in Spain, in Greece. Other countries that are much further in the discussion are specifically France and Denmark. But there's also a discussion at a wider European level as to what needs to be done to better protect teenagers when it comes to their online social media use.
And Thomas, what's the situation in Germany specifically? How far along is the national debate?
The discussion here in Germany is not as advanced as in Spain or even in France or Denmark. There is an expert commission in place that is expected to present its findings sometime this year, maybe even in the autumn of this year. But that doesn't go as far as what's happening in other parts of Europe. However, there is a big debate, a social debate in the country as to what should be the next steps also here in Germany. Those who favor a social media ban stress that excessive social media use is linked to high rates of anxiety, depression, cyberbullying, and that therefore something needs to be done at the government level to better protect children and teenagers. Those who are against it, who view such a ban critically, stress, on the one hand, that it could push teenagers underground, that it could restrict them from serious news and information that they need, and that maybe it's very difficult to enforce at a European Union level. And they have also stressed, the critics, that it is not for the government to make those decisions, but it's also for the parents specifically to make those decisions. So you see, there's a big debate here in the country, but from the government perspective, the move now is specifically on that government commission, expert commission, that is going to present its findings in the next few months.
And how does this fit into wider EU-level efforts to regulate minors' access to social media?
That is actually a very important question, because any decision at the national level taken by Germany or by Spain or by Portugal or by France or by Denmark needs to fit with the wider European Union structures, and specifically with the so-called Digital Services Act, or DSA. That's the law at the European Union level that, among other things, protects minors when it comes to their online social media use. There are several parts of that DSA that are specifically designed to protect children online. And as such, this is part of the discussion in Europe, how to make sure that national discussions and national decisions fit with a major European law like the DSA. Now, the European Parliament did pass a call last year calling for European countries specifically to ban social media use for under 16, but that is a non-binding resolution. It does, however, increase pressure on European governments to do much more. So what we're seeing here in Europe specifically this year is that the debate will very likely grow, and we will see individual countries actually taking concrete steps to ban social media use for under 16s.
Yes, Thomas Sparrow is our correspondent with DW in Berlin. And that's it for the Pulse this afternoon. The Pulse, as always, was brought to you by Defendril Cough Expectorant. Defendril, breathe easy, feel better. My name is Kenneth Jesse. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with Joineys Prime. LTS is next after this. Enjoy your evening.